Hey YouTube, Blade Brothers here. Thinking of doing a video on sashimi knives. My brother did one a long time back, and I actually have three sashimi knives here as well, and I thought I'd do a quick review and kind of share some of my thoughts. Just a little bit of background. So my brother actually worked at like sushi restaurants, both the conveyor belt type of restaurant as well as the more traditional with a bar type of situation. So he has a fair collection of sashimi knives himself. And then during that time when he was working there, we would quite regularly hold like sushi nights or sashimi nights. So, I guess in part so he can get practice, and plus, both him and I really like Japanese food, so we'll do that on a regular basis. Try to figure out the best recipe for sushi rice, as well as having different cuts of fish, and then we try using different types of knives and whatnot. So I also have a little bit of a collection here, so wanted to share this with the viewers of this video. So let's start with this one. This is my earliest sort of sashimi knife. They're called Yanagibas in Japanese. Basically translates to be called like willow leaf, because particularly the shape of the blade is very long and thin. And it's intentional by design. So when you cut the fish, it's just you complete a cut with one draw cut without needing to apply too much pressure. And you don't have to do a sawing motion, which would damage the delicate fish meat. So this is a relatively cheap one, made by Noshu Masamune. That's what this actually says here. Made in Japan. But it's just a standard, probably AUS 8 grade stainless steel. Still relatively sharp. Blade length is about 8.5 inches. Overall is maybe about 13 inches, a little bit over a foot. Very light. It's about 3 ounces. And it has they call it shiraki white wood as a handle, so not very water resistant. So through time it's already kind of gotten darker and whatnot. And then this is plastic. So I think I bought this one a while back. Maybe it was about $20 roughly. Very light. So while if you have it nice and sharp, when you do the draw cuts for the fish, it's not too bad. But I didn't like it for the fact that the blade length was not long enough for a full draw cut on certain larger slices of meat or fish specifically. And the lightness of it doesn't help with the cutting, I guess, in my opinion, at least, because you have to still apply some downward pressure during your draw cut because of the overall lightness of it. But it was a good starter knife, and I gotten accustomed to the single bevel. So if you look at the blade here, from this angle, you can see it's flat on one end, and then it has a little bit of an angle. Let me see if I can zoom in here. So like that. So you can see here, it's a single bevel. There's a little bit of an angle here, while it's completely flat on this side. So supposedly you're supposed to cut with, so this is designed for a right-handed person. The flat end would be where you cut, and then the bevel actually helps detach the meat from the blade, and it also makes for easier sharpening, because with the single bevel, then it's easier to sharpen because you can just angle it following the bevel design. So yeah, This was my starter knife. Did not come with any type of saya or sheath. So usually you put this on like probably like a magnetic block or strip to kind of just keep it out of the way. But because of it being just stainless steel, not too much worry in terms of rust or anything. So low maintenance, but not great. The next one I got was more of an overall investment. This one I think was, when I bought it, about $200 something. This is the Shun. So Shun. This one is called the Blue Steel Kiritsuke. Let me see if I can zoom in here. And if you can kind of see, I'm wondering if you can see there. So you can tell there's a homon, like I mentioned in other videos. There's a clear sort of laminate line, and you can see there's a little bit of patina there. So the edge blade, the sandwiched blade that is actually where you're cutting from, is a high carbon steel. It's called blue steel in Japan, Ayogami, which basically means blue paper. From Hitachi, I guess when they manufacture steel, they actually have what's called white paper steel and blue paper steel. So it translates to Ayogami or Shirogami. And it's basically the composition of the steel itself. Both are high carbon type of steels. White steel is with less impurities, while blue steel is much more tough. Because they've added like tungsten and other like materials like vanadium. But it is high carbon steel, so it can rust. So typically, if you cut with this, you have to make sure that you wipe it down with every cut, which is a common practice. And oil it whenever you're storing it for a long period of time. It's a mirror polish, as you can see, very shiny. This is called a, let me zoom out so you can see the shape of the blade. This is not a Yanagiba. This is called a Kiritsuke. And officially, a Kiritsuke is the sort of Japanese chef's knife. And what's meant by that is traditionally in Japan, only the head chef is allowed to use in a Kiritsuke. So they could do pretty much all the tasks. So it is pretty much used like a chef's knife in sort of Western countries, but it is sort of exclusive to the head chef. And it has a very distinct shape. By comparison, what the Western cultures refer to as a chef's knife is usually a gyuto. The shape is different. It has, no sort of edged or that taper right here. It's basically just to a point and comes to like a flowing point or a drop point. But that type of knife is called a gyuto, and that one is actually translated to be a meat knife, basically. So it's primarily for cutting of meats. While this one is, the thickness and everything is, managed to a point where it is sort of a utility knife. It's sort of like an extended version of a santoku too. So it's a very multi-purpose type of kitchen knife. This one in particular is 15.5 inches in overall length, so very long, and a blade length of about 10 inches, but it's pretty heavy. It's an 8-ounce blade. The advantages of it is when you're cutting one draw cut and you have adequate blade to, I could process a large slab of salmon, a fillet, with just one cut kind of situation and separate it and everything. So there's definitely advantages to it. What I didn't quite like about it, unless you are processing very large slabs of fish, it's a little bit heavier. It can kind of be, if you're just trying to, take your smaller slices and you're just cutting the actual pieces of sashimi or cutting pieces of fish for sushi, it can be a much because of the overall size of this and weight of this. Um, Also, is the amount of counter space you need, because you would need a fairly sized cutting board, and to do the necessary draw cuts and whatnot, you need a little bit more real estate overall. Um, so I have a very large hinoki style cutting board specifically to be used with this knife. But in normal cases, like for dinner for just my family of four or whatnot, it's a bit much. If I'm like entertaining guests, I definitely would use this. Okay, I'm gonna put this back. It does come with its own saya. So saya meaning sheath. Standard just wood. It has a little peg for fastening, so securing the blade. So I want to make sure that I store this because it is carbon steel. I don't want to be like exposing it to even the oils in on our fingers can cause potential rust. So that's why I want to care for it. I pretty much care for it like a sword. So here you go. Okay, which actually leads me to a more recent purchase I had made maybe a month or two back, actually. I can't quite remember. Earlier in the year, basically. But this is a Gekko. That's actually the pronunciation of that. Gekko means moon in Japanese. So this basically is the name of the brand, Gekko. So this is, again, you can see this is a Yanagiba style, but longer in length. So it answers to the prior issue I had with my old Yanagiba, is that can't quite complete in a draw cut. So this one actually is an adequate length. The previous one being an 8.5, this one's a 9.5. So 1 inch, a little bit more in terms of overall length. The handle being of a greater length also because I have fairly large hands, as I've described in some of my other videos. It's hand forged. This one is with, they call it SK4 high carbon tool steel. SK4 is a sort of similar quality steel as what I think on the market nowadays, T10. So it has a high percentage of tungsten, but also vanadium, chromium, and other components in it. So it's a very nice blade overall. It's got much more thickness to it. If I can zoom in and do a quick comparison here. Ooh, did not want that, but so let's see. You can see here, there's a substantial amount of heft by comparison to my old Yanagiba. See how that is? It's almost double the overall width. So this one's up at about 5.1 ounces. So it is a very nice Yanagiba. And again, it's single bevel. My brother prefers double bevel, and it's just a matter of personal preference. I guess I'm used to this one, so I prefer the single bevel. So you can see here, I can get in an angle. There we go. You can see it's single bevel and right hand use. Yeah, so this one I typically would use, oops, let me zoom out here. I would typically use for, slicing sashimi and making sushi for just my family. if I'm not entertaining or whatnot. It's much more easy to control, and it feels good in the hand. I've used this once or twice already. I like the added weight, because when you do a draw cut with this, the added weight does actually contribute to a smoother, because it has pressure down on the fish without me actually forcing or potentially bruising the delicate fish. So that's a very good. And it does come with a saya. Yeah, and I really like. I bought this particular knife because I like the overall design. The thickness of the blade, and the saya design. This is called a ishime design. It's actually very similar to real katana type of sayas. So actually, here. Here's just an example. This is a cheaper katana that I have, and you can see the saya. It's pretty much very closely resembling the saya I have for the knife. Ishime, I think it actually translates to be stone pattern, because the pattern is like that on, like rocks. So all right. So yep, these are the sashimi knives that I have and use. So it goes back to what my brother's previous said in his video. I mean, there are very nice sashimi knives out there that can be in the thousands in terms of cost. And yeah, I don't think I will ever pull myself to do that, because I don't eat sashimi or sushi that much, and it just comes down to a point where if I'm buying like a $1,000 sashimi knife, am I going to really use it? I mean, even this one, my $200 one, sometimes, like I said, I mean, for not just the cost reasons, but I rarely use, because unless I'm entertaining and like cutting a large amount of fish, I much prefer to just get this one instead. So yeah, but they are like the craftsmanship of Japanese chef knives are great, and the overall quality of steel is definitely, sort of, the renown is equivalent to their katana swords. So, all right. I hope you liked this video. Definitely like and subscribe to us, and leave us comments. We always love to hear from our viewers in regards to like suggestions or follow-up questions, or even just ideas for other videos. Thank you so much, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. Take care. Bye-bye.